everybody. It is day 9 of 30 Days of Recovery. I am your host, Travis the Featherhawk Snyder. I am a person in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is I haven't had a mind or mood-altering chemical for over 5 years. And as a result of making that choice, I am blessed, honored, and grateful to be able to humbly and simply share some of my experience, strength, and hope with the goal of reaching people in the community of Schuylkill County and beyond. Today is day 9 of this adventure, and for those who are just tuning in for the first time, 30 Days of Recovery was my idea to come and shoot a video here in the studio for 30 days in August, each day picking a different topic and having a discussion on that topic. Today is day 9, and I decided that I wanted to talk about nutrition, something very, very important for living a healthy lifestyle. And when I do share my story, I always talk about, my life before growing up, my life in addiction, and then my life in recovery, and how the topic pertains to all that. And I'll just quickly go right into it. So nutrition, growing up on a farm out here in the country in Pennsylvania, I was definitely fed well. My grandmother is an amazing cook. She fed us with like a lot of high starch food, a lot of potatoes, a lot of some pot pie, a lot of animal protein, a lot of beef, and all kinds of really delicious, good cooking. I'm very blessed and grateful to have grown up with that, and so keeping weight on wasn't ever an issue around here. But I was also very involved and very in different sports, and just very athletic and very active. So I guess I needed a lot of those carbs and a lot of that protein for growing up here in the Higgins Valley, playing all different kinds of sports. Later on in my life, I really never truly paid attention. I was just, basically eating what was in front of me, and I didn't really like vegetables. I really like sweets. I like things that tasted good, which is natural. And then going up into my adult years, I never truly paid attention to my nutrition. It's actually something I was not very overly grateful for. I just kind of take it for granted. Like a lot of people, I took it for granted, this idea of having food available to us anywhere at any given moment. I know there's a great portion of the world that just doesn't have access to the resources and to the good food that we do have here in the United States, and especially here in Pennsylvania, an agricultural state. We have access to local, locally grown produce, which is a good thing. So when I was in my addiction, I was just, I was living in the bar, hanging out in the bars, eating bar food. I ate a lot of pizza, a lot of cheesesteaks. I really didn't pay attention to the type of stuff that I was eating. I didn't really have that conscious awareness, that the type of food that I was eating was actually having an effect on my health and well-being, and overall how it was having an effect on my mind and my ability to do everything on a daily basis. And like all the different topics that I talked about going up until day 9, having a healthy diet will contribute to all of them topics, to that mindfulness, to the awareness, and to all the things that we're doing on our daily lives. Having good, healthy nutrients to fuel our bodies is such an important thing. I know all the way up until I was arrested and kind of, did my time, had my transformation. I remember just sitting in jail and starting to get into the fitness thing pretty heavy, because that was my coping mechanism. My cellie at the time, we just kind of, we were mapping out the protein, looking at the labels. So that's where my label reading adventure was started happening. I started actually reading what was in the food and looking, how much protein was in the items and all of that. And so started tracking my meals, started paying attention. When I got out of jail and then went to treatment, and I got out, I weighed 205 pounds. My normal weight is somewhere between 170 and 180 pounds. So packed on a lot of pounds in jail, eating those chi-chis and all them high carb snacks in there. And I don't know, when I got out, I just knew that I wanted to live a little bit healthier, and I wanted to shed that weight. And just working out, I was just inspired to want to tone up and to want to be fit. And I quickly got into weightlifting and bodybuilding and stuff like that. So having a good healthy diet is such an important part of living a fitness lifestyle. So started to pay attention to the things that I was eating and started looking at them in detail and reading. And so I'm just going to share kind of what some of the nutritional side of my life and what recovery has brought to me, because I became more mindful and more aware of my choices. So I started to eat a lot of healthy carbs like sweet potatoes and whole grain rice. I got into eating a lot of different chicken, cooked and prepared a lot of different ways. I'm not afraid to get into some turkey, fish. I like tilapia. I mean, I've heard good and bad about tilapia, but I think it's delicious. I try to look for stuff that's, made in the United States. But I try and go to local produce. We have the Gratz market here, and we have local produce stands here in Higgins as well. I try to buy locally. Like, I eat a lot of asparagus, broccoli, and things like that. So I try and buy locally. Now, don't get me wrong, I cheat a lot. I love having some good cheeseburgers. I love a good steak every once in a while. But for the most part, one of the most important things that I got rid of in my diet is I try to stay away from those foods with added sugar. I try and stay away from the foods that have the simple carbs, the sugary, the breads and things like that. And I try to stay away from foods that's processed foods and packaged foods and things that really kind of throw a wrench into our digestive system, that our body the natural processes of our body don't know how to digest some of these preservatives and different things that are in processed food. So out with all the microwavable stuff and tried to get farm fresh as much as possible. And I know that's hard to do year round depending on your financial situation and things of that nature, but try. Another big thing is drinks. People don't think about what they're drinking on a daily basis. Is what you're drinking, does it have sugar in it? Does it have natural sweeteners like aspartame? And there's just a lot of dangerous chemicals. So reading those labels, I really try to focus on getting food with ingredients that maybe 3 or less, or 1, or just a whole food. And then I get into the level of as I started progressing with the nutritional side, I really started to want to get more stuff that was organic and free range. So got into free range chickens, free range beef, free range eggs, things like that, becoming more mindful. And honestly, I'm contemplating switching over to maybe a diet with less animal protein. Still working my way into that space, but I drink water, like a lot of water all day long. That's probably one of the biggest things is constantly keeping my fluids going. And another thing that's important with nutrition and diet is, portions. I was always one for eating large portions, and I still do. I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I'll never be perfect at this, but what I try and do is have a really good breakfast, maybe some eggs, some oatmeal, maybe get some healthy breakfast bars. I like Cliff bars, some Kind bars, things like that. And just be mindful of the amount of carbs and sugar that's in it. Have a good breakfast and just have maybe 3 or 4 meals spaced throughout the day. Now, if you're into fitness and working out, that's gonna be a different story, because depending on when you're working out, when you're exercising, that's gonna determine when you're gonna eat your meals. But the best way that I can describe it, with our bodies and how, from my personal experience was, I think of our metabolism as a furnace. I think about keeping weight off and really shedding and digesting food as like our body is a furnace. So I need to keep stoking that fire. I need to keep fueling it with small amounts instead of having like 3 big meals and just eating a ton of food. Like it kind of that snuffs the fire out, and then it takes a while to get back going again. And so I like to have good portion meals, healthy meals. Most of my meals are just, broccoli, sweet potatoes, and like a chicken protein, or fish, turkey, and sometimes beef. It doesn't get too fancy, but I get a little bit in there with the seasoning and the spices and the condiments, and that's kind of where you can, spice it up a bit. I definitely add salad and food with fiber to help the digestive system along. And so nice, good portioned meals that really keeps the metabolism going. It keeps the fluids, it keeps our bodies operating and functioning. And then I also get into supplements, protein shakes, whey protein, and there's just so many places that you can get, like whey proteins and different supplements, and that's a whole nother story. And I'm actually going to do another podcast talking about fitness and a little bit about how fitness has helped my recovery along. But I can tell you that nutrition and having a good, healthy diet and being mindful of what we're eating, and if you can simplify anything to start living more healthy, drink more water, drink only water. I also drink coffee in the morning. That kind of helps get my digestive system going. So drink only water, remove food with added sugars, remove processed foods, and eat more healthy carbs like sweet potatoes and whole grain rice. Switch them out from regular potatoes, and stay away from processed and packaged foods, and and then well-proportioned meals throughout the day. I mean, for me, I would not be able to do the things that I do on a daily basis if I was just eating pizza and cheesesteaks and sugary snacks all day. For me personally, that stuff it makes me feel like crap. I just feel so much better. But here's the downside is the food that you're eating in a healthy diet isn't always tasty. So, break out the sweet potatoes, put a little bit of butter and some cinnamon sugar on it, and everything's all good. A little bit of cheese on the broccoli ain't gonna hurt nobody. But so that's what I wanted to talk about today. Nutrition, being mindful of our diets and, really focusing in on how that has an effect on our overall health and well-being on a daily basis, and mixing a good diet and good nutrition with some exercise and some healthy mind work on a daily basis, and a lot of spiritual work. You're sure to have a really good, healthy recovery. So that's it. I kind of drug this on for 13 minutes. So this talk was about nutrition. I'm not an expert. I don't know everything. I just know what worked for me. And I hope that some people out here maybe can gain a little bit of knowledge and understanding and allow their nutrition to bring better well-being and health into your life and into your recovery. So that's it. We'll see you next time.